A lot of times when we are super stressed out, it can lead to this weight loss resistance. Cortisol is your stress hormone, as many of you know. I talk about it a lot. And it's released in response to a physical, mental, emotional stressor. And we need it at the right times. Well, where I see issues when it comes to weight is people who are chronically stressed. And typically we see weight stored in the abdominal area when people are chronically stressed. And that chronic stress also leads to other health problems. You just don't want to have to deal with it. Insomnia, anxiety, blood pressure issues, adrenal issues. Stress is something that we all, I think, need to learn to be able to control a little better. Stress hormones like cortisol, like such a big reason that eat less and exercise more can make it harder to lose weight.
Hi, I'm Kelly Namiro. Welcome to the Balancing Chaos podcast, a lifestyle podcast where we'll talk about wellness, motherhood, and some really exciting things in between. My goal is to help you develop a lifestyle that promotes health, wholeness, and success. Through my conversations with our experts and guests, I hope to inspire you to live a beautiful, full, and joyful life as you navigate balancing the chaos.
Hi, you guys. I'm really excited to have you all to myself today. We are going to get into a conversation all about weight loss resistance because this is a topic that has been flooding our DMs. All of the new clients that I am seeing are talking to me about it. My old clients are talking to me about it because I think as summer approaches, the weather gets warmer. We see all of these advertisements for bikinis and getting your bikini body ready. We all start to feel more pressure to like feel and look our best in our bodies. That's not abnormal, but we want you to feel and look your best in your body at a set point that is healthy for you. And we want you to feel and look your best in your body in a way that is sustainable for you. And I think that that's where a lot of people get lost. They tend to over restrict, think that they're going to have some quick fix with some crazy juice cleanse and get frustrated because they end up gaining all the weight back and then some because 95+% of diets fail. And what a lot of people don't recognize is there are a lot of pitfalls that people tend to fall into when they are trying to approach weight loss that they are not thinking about, that they are not being mindful of. And so they get trapped in this same cycle of buying these diets, buying these cleanses, buying these products, pills, whatever it is, those things not working and then getting frustrated and then living through that cycle over and over and over again. And the reality is the problem may be simple. It may be more simple when it comes to, let's say, a hormonal imbalance that you're just not aware of and you need to get your labs done. Maybe you are eating more than you think because you're grazing all day long rather than eating real meals and your blood sugar is not stable. Maybe you are emotionally eating as a coping mechanism for your stress. So I want to walk you through some of these traps and reasons that I see for weight loss resistance in the podcast today. Because look, I know how frustrating it can be to think that you are implementing some change. You're making a lifestyle change. You want to support your health. You want to support weight loss only to find that like you're trying and nothing is happening on the back end. Everywhere you look, there is some new fad diet, some dramatic transformation before and after picture, and you feel like you're falling short when it comes to your own progress. Why won't that work for me? That's the dirty little secret that the diet industry thrives on, is thinking that is not thinking, but is making you think that your body is a problem, that you're broken, and that this one magical solution is going to be what fixes it. When the reality is oftentimes the foundations are what need to be fixed. Like the hormones, the mentality around food, those bigger things that no one can sell you a solution to. It only comes back to you doing things differently in terms of how you're eating, how you're exercising, and how you're thinking about your body. And so today we're going to talk about those pitfalls and also solutions that you can work through on your own as you try to navigate your weight loss journey, tracking your progress, all of these different things. So let's jump right into it. I want to start by just acknowledging again that I know it's frustrating. But what I want you guys to remember is that the answer is not restricting and over exercising, because that can absolutely make things worse. And it did for me for a really long time. I bought into that lie that the diet culture industry tells us that, if you eat less and exercise more, then that's going to be the solution. That's going to be the fix. And it, when hormones are imbalanced, like let's start there, hormonal imbalances. When hormones are imbalanced, that approach is never going to work. It's going to make things work. So your hormones control virtually every single function in your body, from your mood to your energy to your digestion to your reproductive health. And when hormones are out of balance, it causes this ripple effect throughout your entire body. And so I want to walk you guys through the different hormones that have the biggest impact on your weight. So you can think about potentially going to get tested. You can think about, oh, do I have those symptoms? Does that sound like something that intuitively resonates with me? Because if one of these hormones that I'm going to list off is imbalanced, then you are going to struggle with losing weight, regardless of how little you eat and how much you exercise. In fact, that's like, for example, for me, somebody who struggled for years, with hypothyroidism. It's like I was cold all the time. I was irritable. My digestion was off. And me eating less and exercising more made all of those symptoms 10 times worse, because I kept slowing my metabolism. I wasn't giving my body the fuel that it needed to fuel my metabolic health, to fuel my thyroid, to make my thyroid and my adrenals think that they were safe. And so it made everything worse. My hair was falling out. I started missing my period, all of these different things. So let's start with hypothyroidism as an example. Your thyroid gland is responsible for producing thyroid hormone, which play a major role in regulating your metabolism. An underactive thyroid means your metabolism is not going off as it should. It is not firing as effectively as it should. And for a lot of people, you'll go to your doctor, they'll test your TSH, they'll look at your thyroid stimulating hormone, and they'll be like, okay, that's your normal, in the normal range, which is, there is a new normal range that so many Western doctors don't acknowledge, and that is 0.5 to 2.5. Most doctors go off of the old range, which is 0.5 to 5.0 or 4.5. And if you are within that range, they will tell you, oh, everything's fine, walk away, go home. And it just can be so frustrating because people aren't getting the answers that they deserve. And so, like I said, if you don't know what's going on with your full thyroid panel, your free T4, your free T3, your reverse T3, your antibodies, you might walk away with subclinical hypothyroidism or just full-blown hypothyroidism and not even know it and feel like you are gaining weight and you can't help it. You're super fatigued. Your hair is falling out. You're super cold all the time, all of the things. Another one that I see often is insulin resistance. Insulin is the hormone that helps you to regulate your blood sugar levels. And so when you eat foods that have carbohydrates, your body releases insulin to help your body use the energy that you take in while keeping your blood sugar levels from getting too high. Insulin resistance means that your body is not responding correctly to insulin. And so blood sugar levels rise, they stay high while your body pumps out more insulin to try to bring it back down. And the result is weight issues. You're hungry all the time. You have cravings for more sugary, more carb heavy food. But if you aren't aware that all of this is happening underneath the surface, you assume, well, I just need to keep restricting calories. I just need to keep exercising more. And that approach is going to do you more harm than good. If you already have these hormonal imbalances, it's going to stress and tax your body even more. And you're going to end up with the exact opposite of the results that you want. The advice that we're often given of eating less and exercising more is this vicious cycle. And I can't tell you how many women come to me regularly, again, in my DMs, in private coaching applications to take my course, and they're not even eating 1,000 calories a day. or they're just hitting right above that. You guys, my toddler needs more food than that. A growing small child needs more than 1,000 calories a day. But then I see these grown adult women, and I will tell you, I was one of them for a very long time, eating. This is a trigger warning for anyone out there struggling with restriction right now, but 800 calories a day and exercising 2 hours a day and not being able to lose weight. And in many cases, these women, again, including myself, I was gaining weight at the time, 10 years ago when I was doing this. And I was like, what the F? When you severely restrict calories, exercise excessively, it starts to throw off your hormones even more. So let's look at why that happens, why this restriction, this overexercise starts to impact your hormones negatively. And then let's talk about what you can do to start to course correct some of these hormonal imbalances so that you can push past some of this weight loss resistance. So as I mentioned earlier, insulin is this hormone that helps to regulate blood sugar levels. And one of the biggest things that I start to see with over restriction, so you're eating less than, I would say for a grown adult woman, less than 1,800 calories a day, especially for someone who's active, where you're skipping meals in order to try to cut out calories. And then you go into lunch or dinner and you're absolutely starving. This is my problem with intermittent fasting. Guess what happens? Your blood sugar spikes, and this causes this rise in your insulin and a corresponding blood sugar crash. And over time, these high insulin levels and insulin resistance start to promote fat storage. So you are making it harder for yourself to lose weight. It is a vicious cycle that becomes harder and harder and harder to break through. And most women don't know that they're slowing their metabolism in this way. I will tell you, 90+% of America is metabolically unhealthy. And a lot of it comes from like us not fueling our bodies properly and not giving our bodies the proper nutrition that they need. So let's talk a little bit about metabolic health, right? That includes this group of risk factors that increase our likelihood for developing diseases like stroke and diabetes and heart disease. And those risk factors, I actually talked about this on Instagram this week, are things like high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and A1C, abnormal cholesterol levels, and excessive fat around your waist. Now, metabolic syndrome itself is very much tied to insulin resistance. Insulin, again, is that hormone that helps your body effectively use its glucose, effectively use its blood sugar for energy. And when your body becomes resistant to insulin, it's unable to use glucose effectively. That increases your blood sugar levels, and too much glucose in your body gets stored as fat. But what a lot of people don't understand is that insulin itself doesn't make you fat. Before you get scared away from, eating carbohydrates ever again, whether that's fruit or sweet potatoes, because that's another thing that I hear all the time. I can't have a banana. I can't have a potato. The glucose causing elevated insulin levels is a product of insulin resistance, not the root cause, meaning it's not the carbohydrates that are leading to the fat storage, but the underlying insulin resistance at a cellular level. That's the cause. And the root cause is due to so many factors. An ongoing diet of too much processed food is a huge cause of that. Not the banana that you're eating. It's, all of the protein bars and granola bars and cereal and oatmeal and pasta and all of these different things. Insulin resistance is also highly linked to type 2 diabetes, but you can have insulin resistance for years and years and years without developing diabetes yet, not even knowing that you've had insulin resistance and you've been struggling to lose weight this entire time. insulin resistance usually is something that people with PCOS have. And so knowing that if you're somebody struggling with PCOS, here are some things that you can do if you know you have insulin resistance. I typically will treat a client if they have an insulin level above 9 or 10, even though that's not quote unquote technical normal insulin resistance. That usually is above 24, but I see people having a harder time losing weight if their insulin levels are above 10. So what can you do to help lower your insulin levels and become more insulin sensitive? Exercise. This is really important. I think that a lot of times when I hear women trapped in that cycle of limiting beliefs about weight loss, it's like, I just have to do cardio. Cardio is going to burn everything off. And that is not the truth. You want to exercise in different ways throughout the week. Yes, you can go for a nice walk. That's great. But honestly, strength training is the most effective way to get your cells sensitive to insulin and to shift your metabolism in a positive way. So you want to be lifting weights to be boosting that lean muscle in your body. You want to bump up your fiber. So most women I talk to are not getting enough fiber. And fiber starts to slow down the absorption of sugar from the carbohydrates you're eating into your bloodstream. So that can help you to release less insulin. So 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day. Fermented foods are great for your microbiome, and they can also help improve your metabolic function. Things like sauerkraut, kimchi. If you are eating like a dairy-free yogurt, there are so many great ways to get fermented foods in. Healthy fats also help with blood sugar regulation because they are digested slowly, more slowly than carbohydrates. So good sources of healthy fats that you should be eating regularly to keep yourself satiated, to keep your blood sugar levels stable are things like olive oil, nuts and seeds, avocado, fatty fishes like salmon. You want to be thinking about all of those things when you are creating a meal that has carbohydrates. So if you're having oatmeal, you want some nut butter in it. You want something to slow the absorption of the oats, of those carbohydrates, and you want the fiber to also help that with that as well, right? Remember, it's not the carbohydrate that's responsible. That's just a symptom. So, you want to have healthy carbs in your diet. Yes, complex carbohydrates are the best things for preventing insulin resistance in the first place. I hate that carbohydrate has become such a dirty word in diet culture. But there is a huge difference between you going and eating a bowl of processed pasta or a candy bar and you eating a bowl of black beans and sweet potatoes. Real food sources of carbohydrates like beans, fruits, vegetables, potatoes, that should be the bulk of your plate. Simple carbohydrates, sugar, even things like honey, agave, dates, white flour, those should be the things that you are limiting. So, when we think about thyroid hormones, like I mentioned earlier, a well-functioning thyroid is necessary for a healthy metabolism. So, if your thyroid is low, and this was a big reason why I went to a number of different doctors who tested a number of different things before I finally got a diagnosis of hypothyroidism 10 years ago. And I am convinced that what caused that was the years and years of restriction. But that's a different story for a different day. A big symptom of hypothyroidism is weight gain. And like I said, a big reason that I'm convinced of that is because severely restricting calories lowers thyroid hormone levels. Women who follow a very low calorie diet, this has been researched and studied, have significantly lower levels of free T3, which is your active thyroid hormone, which is responsible in a lot of ways for your metabolism. So if you are eating super, super low calorie, know that you are day by day lowering your metabolic set point, and impacting your thyroid health in a negative way. And that's something you want to stop doing right now. The other thing is, if you significantly drop your calories, if you're super restrictive with the way that you're eating, you're obviously much more likely to be missing out on essential nutrients that your thyroid needs, things like zinc and selenium, things like magnesium. So being aware of all of that is really, really important. So knowing that your thyroid hormone can affect your weight because your thyroid regulates how your body uses energy. There are a lot of people who I see, again, who struggle with weight loss resistance because of how this starts to slow their metabolism. And it makes it really hard to both lose weight and even maintain a healthy weight. Things like stress, nutrient deficiencies, medications, your diet, all of these different things play a role in your thyroid health. So again, it goes back to that idea that it's not just calories in, calories out. You have to think about, how stressed am I? What meds am I taking? All of these different things, your lifestyle, your diet, those things can't be ignored when you think about your thyroid health and how that has implications on your metabolism. So if you want to improve the health of your thyroid, if you're like, my thyroid, I know it's out of whack. I know I have hypothyroidism. My T3 is not in the optimal levels, which should be above 3.0. And we could do a whole nother podcast on what optimal thyroid levels are. But if you know you're already taking medication and your thyroid levels still aren't optimal, maybe you want to take a supplement that has some things like zinc and selenium and magnesium in it. Maybe you are somebody who needs to address your gut health, because the conversion of T4 to T3 mostly happens in your gut. So if you're somebody who is struggling with thyroid hormones, you might know that T4 is the hormone that your thyroid makes for the most part, and it has to be converted into T3 to be able to give you energy, to fire up your metabolism, all of the different things. And I won't get too much into that, but if you have poor gut health, it is closely linked to also autoimmune thyroid disease. So you want to really support your gut with a nutrient-dense diet, with potentially supplementing with things like L-glutamine, zinc carnosine, just depending on if you're dealing with something like a leaky gut. So we can dive down that whole entire rabbit hole, because oftentimes hypothyroid isn't even the root cause. It's a gut issue that's the root cause that's causing the thyroid to be out of whack. So you also want to make sure, just like with insulin resistance, you're really eating to support blood sugar, because there is a very close link between hypothyroidism and insulin resistance. And your thyroid hormone influences how your body uses blood sugar. So eating regularly, having fiber-rich meals, packed with protein and healthy fat, all of these things can help to regulate your blood sugar, like we talked about.
Hi, I'm Kelly Nemiro, your host, certified holistic hormone coach, and Pilates instructor for the WBK method. You can consider me your guide in helping you curate the very best version of yourself from the inside out. Feeling physically better by optimizing your hormones, to feeling mentally and emotionally better by creating a more deep and grounded connection with yourself. I get questions all the time in my DMs about things like, what supplements should I be taking for my menopause symptoms? Or is it normal that I'm always exhausted? My doctor said that's what happens as I get older. Or maybe I gained 20 pounds in the last couple of years and I have no idea how to lose it. And even I'm chronically bloated and I've tried every elimination diet. Please help. But here's the thing. There are no quick fixes out there. Until you know the root cause of what's going on in your body and you use precision supplementation, a targeted diet, and mindset and lifestyle changes that are specific to your unique circumstances and lab values, you're never going to be able to heal. Throwing just random supplements that make all these promises, or a restrictive diet at a weight issue, is never going to work, because it's not focused on what's going on internally with you. And often we can make the problem worse when we do these things. And that's why I've created the WBK WBK lab review package. In this package, you'll receive lab kits and a custom lab form based on your symptoms and health history. Once you've completed the saliva kit for your adrenals, the stool kit for your gut health, and the blood tests for your hormones and other health markers, we'll sit down together and create a customized plan that will help you balance your hormones in a holistic way so that you can lose weight, have more energy, maintain a balanced mood, and achieve the results that you've been wanting. This year, it is time to get the results that you've been dreaming of because you're targeting your unique system. If you're ready to experience more energy, comfort, confidence in your body, and relief from those nagging symptoms that have been bringing you down, I would love to support you in doing just that. This program includes a one-on-one call between you and me, all of the labs needed to create your customized protocol, and a PDF with your unique plan that you'll be following going forward so that you can take your time in implementing your new diet, supplements, and lifestyle changes. To learn more about this, head to the link in the show notes or go to wellnessbykelly.com to learn more about the WBK lab review.
Now let's move on to cortisol, because a lot of times, I was talking about this earlier this week too on Instagram, a lot of times when we are super stressed out, it can lead to this weight loss resistance, right? So cortisol is your stress hormone, as many of you know. I talk about it a lot, and it's released in response to a physical, mental, emotional stressor. And we need it at the right times. When there is something that is in need of more energy, where we need to flee, where we're about to get in a car accident, we need to swerve out of the lane, we get out of the lane, and then our cortisol should go back down. But where I see issues when it comes to weight is people who are chronically stressed. And typically we see weight stored in the abdominal area when people are chronically stressed. And that chronic stress also leads to other health problems. You just don't want to have to deal with it. Insomnia, anxiety, blood pressure issues, adrenal issues. You just don't. Stress is something that we all, I think, need to learn to be able to control a little better. Stress hormones like cortisol, like such a big reason that eat less and exercise more can make it harder to lose weight, because eating less and exercising more is a physical stressor on your body. Women's bodies are especially sensitive to nutrient depletion. For me, when I wasn't eating enough and I was exercising too much, this is why I lost my period for so many years. Your body considers that lack of nutrition a stressor. So what does your body do? It protects you from starvation by holding on to weight. Your body can't tell whether you're in a calorie deficit because you want your genes to fit better, or because you're starving yourself and you are actually, there's actually no food available. Your body can't tell the difference between famine or you restricting. It's an evolutionary response that served people well when food was scarce, but not anymore in our modern world. And so many people are still in that place where they are trying to lower themselves down to 1,200 calories a day. That significantly is going to increase your cortisol, which causes you to hold on to that belly fat. Now, let's move on to estrogen, because this is interesting, because it's like Goldilocks. It has to be just right in order for it to serve you in your weight loss goals. If it's too high, if it's too low, it can be a problem. Now, a lot of the women I see have estrogen dominance. This means you have higher than average estrogen levels, or your estrogen to progesterone ratio is off. Maybe you have PCOS. Maybe you have a luteal phase defect. You aren't ovulating regularly. Chronic stress and adrenal function. There are plenty of reasons why you might be dealing with estrogen dominance. Too much estrogen leads to weight gains, particularly if you're somebody who notices weight in the hips and thighs area. It can also cause a number of other issues like anxiety, mood swings, PMS, heavy, painful periods, and insomnia. There's so many things that come along with estrogen dominance. So if you were just triggered and like, oh, that sounds like me, you might want to test your estrogen to progesterone ratio. Now, on the other hand, if you have really low estrogen, like women in menopause or women like me who struggled with amenorrhea, that also makes it hard to lose weight, especially around the midsection. And calorie restriction, low calorie diets are going to be this like whole vicious chicken and the egg cycle where it's going to negatively impact your sex and reproductive hormones, because the less that you eat, the less nourishment, the less your body feels safe to be able to produce hormones like estrogen. And so that stress response goes off, and your sex hormones are then thrown out of balance. Your cortisol levels are up. Everything is out of whack. Estrogen is produced in your ovaries, and it's really responsible for regulating the female reproductive system, but it's also got so many other functions like helping your brain and your heart and your bones. And that's why we say that having a healthy menstrual cycle where you're getting your period every 28 days, you're ovulating, you like don't have too bad of PMS symptoms, that's like a vital sign. It truly is. It's like our next vital sign besides our heart rate and our blood pressure and all these other things. And so when you have estrogen dominance or too little estrogen, it's going to make it a lot harder to lose weight. Estrogen dominance itself can also cause things like water retention, which feels like weight gain, right? Because you are like holding on to that water weight, or you have poor gut health with estrogen dominance, which also can cause this bloating that feels like weight gain. So estrogen dominance can be this like holistic issue when it comes to our weight as women. And weight loss with estrogen dominance can be really hard because fat tissues make more estrogen. So again, it becomes this vicious cycle. Adipose fat tissue, or fat cells, I should say, leads to increased inflammation, which can also be a problem with weight loss resistance. So I always, no matter who I'm working with, even if your cycles are super regular, I will have women look at their estrogen to progesterone ratio if they're still getting a menstrual cycle, because estrogen dominance is the most common hormonal imbalance I see. I rarely see a woman with really, really great progesterone levels or a nice estrogen to progesterone ratio. And you really want that number, the ratio itself, to be between 100 and 500, optimally somewhere around 250. So the tricky thing about estrogen is that when it like drops with menopause, right, we can also see these issues, like I mentioned, where because estrogen helps to regulate metabolism and regulate fat tissue in the body, women who are in menopause start to gain weight. So if you're experiencing that hormonal weight gain that's due to estrogen dominance, you know your estrogen to progesterone ratio is off, you know that this is something you're struggling with, you also have these like really bad PMS symptoms and anxiety right before your cycle, you have that weight gain around the butt, hips, and thighs, you definitely want to increase your fiber intake. Again, getting 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day. Most women are not getting that. Most women are not getting that. Most women are not getting that. So really think about that as you work on your weight loss goals. You also might want to reduce or completely nix your alcohol intake. Increased estrogen is often caused by alcohol. So limiting yourself to 1 or maybe 2 drinks per week if you're somebody who drinks, or like I said, nixing it all together can be good. And then when we think about estrogen dominance, there's really 2 ways that estrogen dominance can happen in the body. Either your body is producing too much estrogen on its own, so endogenously, or exogenously, you're getting estrogen from other places. And oftentimes people are getting estrogen from things like xenoestrogens, which are chemicals that mimic estrogen in the body. They're found in your cleaning products, your cosmetics, your plastic Tupperware. And so avoiding those things, avoiding those estrogen, endocrine disrupting chemicals is really important. right? You definitely want to do that. And then if you're working with a practitioner, you can try supplements, things like DIM, magnesium, Vitex, B6. All of those things can be really helpful in regulating estrogen levels. Low testosterone. This is another common hormonal imbalance I see in women, particularly as women get older, go into perimenopause and menopause. Testosterone, people think of testosterone as a male hormone, but women have it and we need it too. Testosterone helps us build and maintain muscle mass. And the more muscle mass you have, the more you are able to efficiently burn fat at rest. Testosterone is also really important for a great sex drive and confidence. So we want to have testosterone at the right levels. And if we have low levels of testosterone, it can lead to things like weight gain and fatigue and low sex drive and a harder time building up that lean muscle. And so when we are too calorie restrictive, we can deplete our testosterone levels even further. I remember when I got my labs done, when I was on those like that severely restrictive calorie diet, my testosterone levels were like non-existent. Too little testosterone is a huge problem. And since it can influence our metabolic rate, how many calories you're burning, women with lower testosterone have a harder time losing weight than women with normal levels. And so there's this really significant relationship between testosterone levels and weight loss capacity in women. And the other thing to know is that when you are struggling with weight loss, testosterone can also increase insulin resistance in some people. Higher than normal insulin levels can stimulate your body to make more testosterone. So again, it comes back to us talking about this vicious cycle that I see so many people unfortunately experiencing. And this is really most commonly seen in people who have PCOS. Testosterone levels can also impact your appetite. So higher, when you think about testosterone levels, right? It's linked to higher levels of ghrelin, a hormone that makes you feel hungry. And if you have too much testosterone, but you're also experiencing inflammatory protein markers that are high, that can kick up estrogen levels in your body. And so I know that I'm getting into the nitty gritty over here and like telling you guys about all of these different things, but it's just such a testament to the fact that all of your hormones are really, really intricately connected. And it's typically not like a one size or one quick and easy fixed solution. It's a very holistic thing that's going on in your body. And like I said, it's like a foundational thing you need to solve rather than just eating less or taking a pill. And so with testosterone, you really want to focus on, again, blood sugar balance. Blood sugar is foundational for all of these hormones to be regulated. So decreasing your processed carb intake, like we talked about, eating healthy fat, having a good amount of protein, regularly spacing out your meal times. Spearmint tea has also been shown to be helpful with if you have higher testosterone levels. So that can be a helpful thing to take, as is a supplement called saw palmetto. It's an herb that blocks testosterone. So for, again, people with PCOS, this can be a nice way to holistically help out. So I know that is a lot of information and it can feel really overwhelming at first, but the first step to getting your hormones fixed and that foundation fixed is getting your levels tested. That gives you a starting point to help you understand what hormones might be out of balance and which ones are okay and in a good place. And from there, you can start to make the appropriate dietary and lifestyle changes that make weight loss sustainable rather than just eating less, working out more, and making all of these hormonal imbalances worse. That is just going to frustrate you. Hormones and weight loss, it's really complex. And so you want to remember that there are so many different hormones, like just the ones that I just mentioned, that have to work together in your body to be able to maintain this equilibrium. And so if one or more of these hormones is off, it can make weight loss really, really hard, even when you're eating right and you're exercising. And so we help people with labs. There are plenty of functional and holistic doctors out there that help people with labs. And with the right information and support, you can get your hormones in balance and see the results that you want to see. So, what's another reason that I see for people not being able to lose weight besides hormones? And oftentimes, if you have a hormonal imbalance, you're eating more than you think you are, or you're causing a hormonal imbalance because you're doing this grazing type of behavior. So, a lot of times people are eating more calories than they think that they are. And they're underestimating their food intake, especially if they're grazing all day and not sitting down for real proper meals. And as a woman, I often found myself grazing throughout the day, thinking that this is going to help me eat less. I'm not eating a real meal. I'm just having a few bites here and a few nibbles there. One, that's not going to fuel your metabolism. And that approach backfires because constantly nibbling on snacks rather than having intentional balanced meals usually leads to a higher caloric intake. And when we graze like this, not only does it disrupt our blood sugar levels, causing them to spike, crash, spike, crash, spike, crash. This fluctuation actually increases our hunger hormone ghrelin and decreases our satiety hormone leptin, leading to these persistent feelings of hunger and this lack of satisfaction all day long. We're never fully satisfied from the food that we're eating. And so when blood sugar levels fluctuate all day long because you're constantly snacking, it affects the delicate balance of hormones in your body. Your hunger hormone is responsible to signal to your brain when your body needs energy. And when we don't eat enough, we don't eat balanced meals, the ghrelin can rise more frequently, making you hungry more than you need to be, right? And that hunger feeling happens when you may not even truly need food because your ghrelin is not balanced. Leptin, on the other hand, is your hormone of satiety. This is the hormone that signals when you are full. And so constantly grazing blunts the effectiveness of leptin, particularly when your diet is high in processed and sugary foods, or you're super stressed, or you're not sleeping. And that leads to this decrease sensitivity of your leptin signals, making it harder to feel full and satisfied after eating. And so what I realized over time and after doing this work for a number of years is that grazing not only caused me to consume more calories than I wanted to, but it also led to this irregular meal pattern that disrupted my natural hunger cues. My body craved regular structured meals with a good balance of protein, healthy fats, complex carbohydrates, and fiber, which helps to stabilize blood sugar levels and promote this level of fullness. And shifting my eating habits just to intentionally sitting down without distractions. So not having a phone, not having my email up, not having all of these things. I got so much negative feedback when I shared that we were not eating dinner at the same time as our kids. Yes, we still sit with them while they eat, and then we eat separately because I found I was so much more stressed and distracted when I was trying to eat dinner with them, and my digestion was off. I would feel hungry a couple hours later because I wasn't eating enough and I wasn't feeling satisfied. And it's just such a testament to the fact that we have to eat in a way that's not distracted. We have to sit down for proper meals at proper meal times that are spaced apart and fuel our bodies and listen to the cues and signals that they're giving us for hunger and fullness. Grazing can also contribute to chronic stress and inflammation, impacting your cortisol levels and further disrupting your hormones. And elevated cortisol, as you guys know, can cause your body to retain fat, especially in your abdominal area, which is where nobody wants it. And so by moving away from grazing and focusing more on those intentional balanced meals, you can better support your body's hormonal regulation and overall health. You have better energy levels. You don't feel as irritable and moody all the time. So this is a really, really important part of maintaining, losing weight, your appetite, and just overall feeling well in your body. Now, Let's talk about the topic of restriction when it comes to mentally and emotionally, because this is a really big thing. And I think that a lot of people want to hear about the physical stuff, which we definitely went through. We acknowledged all the hormones. We talked about blood sugar. But if you're somebody who notices that you are overeating, or like you have dinner and then you have to go into your pantry and have like basically another meal or a healthy snack, or an unhealthy snack. I think that this is a really important conversation to have, because food is not just physical. We have mental, emotional, nostalgic ties to food, right? And it can be really hard. But when you notice yourself overeating, you notice yourself turning to food as a coping mechanism, it's one that is developed in response to restriction, right? And so we talked about the physical restriction, not eating enough, over exercising, right? We talked about what that looks like, but let's talk about mental and emotional restriction. So mental restriction refers to like those food rules that we have when we say like, oh, I can't have a donut, that's bad. I can't have um, you know, pizza, that's bad. And do I think you should be eating those foods all the time? No, but when you are judging those foods and calling them bad foods, you're inherently calling yourself a bad person for eating those foods. And you feel bad and shame and guilt when you eat those foods. When we think about emotional restriction, this is what I like to think of as like my clients basically not allowing themselves to play, not allowing themselves to connect with friends, not allowing themselves to rest because they're working too hard. They're too indulged in that hustle culture, and they are not giving themselves the permission to have emotional comforts, and so they end up overeating or emotionally eating, right? And so when you think about these things, we have to recognize the role of mental and emotional triggers that can cause us to use food as a coping mechanism. Um, and if you're willing to look at that and see, hey, am I in my pantry at night because I've had a really stressful day at work and I'm not actually even really hungry at all? Or am I like feeling really bad about the fact that I had a donut? And so now I'm saying to myself, I'm never going to have a donut again because I feel so ashamed of that. And you just trigger that cycle of restriction, which leads you to overeating it again the next time you have it. You have to get curious with yourself and ask yourself those types of questions. And so if you are somebody who is like, yeah, I do that. I say that, pizza's bad, pasta's bad, donuts are bad. And I know that I am somebody who is constantly shaming myself when I eat certain foods, then you could definitely be somebody who starts to work on that mental restriction. You can start to write down fears that you have around certain foods. And a lot of times when I do this type of work with women, they don't even notice the rules that they have around food. They don't even notice that they say to themselves, like, oh, I can't eat after 7 p.m. I am not allowed to have this, and this. I, you know, talking to yourself in those ways, having that type of self-talk it can so negatively impact your relationship with food. And rather than looking at it from that perspective, it's like, what can you fuel and nourish yourself with? What foods actually make you feel really, really good? And if you have this like super harsh list of rules, can you soften that rule a little bit? Can you shift your perspective around food a little bit and allow yourself to have those things that are off limits once in a while so that you don't overeat them when it's time. I'll give you an example. I used to have this rule around sugar, right? Where like it was so intense and I was never allowed to eat sugar. And so if a holiday like Thanksgiving came around and like that was a one day of the year that I allowed it, then I would overeat pie to the point where I would have like 3 slices of pie and then feel absolutely horrible that night. So one of the things that I started to do when I was working around my eating disorder is like, okay, I can have a piece of pie any day. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving. It doesn't have to be dinner time. It could be any day. And the more that I softened that rule, the less I became afraid of it, the less I felt guilt and shame around it. And to be totally honest with you, the less that I wanted it, the more that I nourish my body with real, whole, healthy food, the more that I notice that I don't really want processed, sugary junk food. So if you are somebody who is like, I definitely don't allow myself to rest enough. And because I don't rest enough, I use food as a coping mechanism to refuel my energy or to make me feel like I am not as overwhelmed or I am emotionally safe, or if I'm sad, I am using food as a coping mechanism, and I use it to fill that void of pain with instead of feeling those feelings, right? I think that you really want to get more in touch and in tune with yourself and your own needs. If you are constantly not connecting with your friends, not resting, not having enjoyment and pleasure in your life, you have to get in touch with yourself. Just start by sitting down with yourself first thing in the morning and asking yourself how you feel and what you need. What do I need today? You don't have to meditate. You don't have to journal. Just ask yourself, like before you turn your phone on and you look at somebody else's social media, how do I feel today? And what do I need today? So that you can build better communication with yourself, so you can better connect with yourself, so that you can better care for yourself, so that you don't then turn to that food as a coping mechanism, right? And so it may not be that you're craving food. It may be that you're craving rest. It may be that you're craving a little bit of time with your girlfriend. It may be that you are craving to go out and go for a walk or play with your kids and put your freaking phone and the work down. It may not be a craving for food at all, but your intensified cravings for food are happening because you're ignoring those other needs that you have. Right. And so really starting to get more self-connected can be super helpful in terms of managing some of that food as a coping mechanism type of behavior. Right. And so I wanted to make sure that I addressed the mental and emotional pieces, because oftentimes you only hear about the one-sided nature of weight loss resistance and overeating and food from a physical sense, especially when it comes to diet culture. So look at how can you see yourself from a more holistic perspective? How can you start to look at when you are needing food, when you're needing things like sugar, when you're needing things like alcohol? And if that ties back to, am I not nourishing myself enough in other ways beyond food? And so I hope that the takeaway today was really that, restriction diets, they're never going to work. And if you're somebody who's been trapped in that cycle, don't let yourself fall into that pit again this year. If you're trying to lose weight as the summer approaches, go get your hormones tested. Get a little bit more clear about your levels of stress. Get a little bit more clear about how often you're letting yourself rest, if you're getting good sleep, if you are having quality connections with other people, If you feel some other symptoms beyond just weight loss resistance, whether it may be like hypothyroid and you're cold all the time, maybe it's estrogen dominance and you have PMS and water retention, maybe you're super anxious and irritable and it's cortisol related. Start to get curious with yourself to notice what might be coming up that would be a more foundational, more intentional thing that you need to work on, rather than trying to buy this quick fix supplement that is not going to be a long-term solution, that rather than buying some juice cleanse, that's not going to be a long-term solution. I love you guys. I love talking about this stuff, and I would love to hear from you in the comments, or ratings and reviews, I should say, about what you want me to talk about next on a solo episode, because these are super fun for me. It's a great way for me to help provide information, talk about some of the things that I get to talk about with one-on-one private clients, and get to know you guys and share my story on a deeper level. So I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that I get some really great feedback about new topics that we can talk about throughout the summer from you guys. And I will see you next week.
I really hope that you enjoyed that episode. You can follow me on Instagram at Wellness by Kelly, or head over to our website, wellnessbykelly.com. Sign up now for the Wellness by Kelly 7-day free trial on our app, or head over to our course. And now get 20% off the course or 10% off of the membership with the code Balancing Chaos, all one word, BALANCINGCHAOS. In our course, you'll get access to an emailed lab review plus protocols built out to help you heal with whatever hormonal imbalance you're struggling with. With our membership, you'll receive a library of content with our app with low impact workouts, blood sugar balancing recipes, and mindfulness meditations, all designed to help you balance your hormones and help you feel like you are living your most beautiful, joyful, and vital life. If you like the show, please leave a rating and review. That is the best way to help the show grow and get to more listeners. We hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next week.